770 KTTH, Bryan Suits here. Good morning, everybody. While you're seeing your screens filled with eggheads, with wealthy eggheads, wealthy, some would say entitled eggheads at Ivy League universities, making a Gaza problem a U problem or a TV problem. In the case of one Israeli visiting professor at Columbia University, he was barred. Though he has a card key, they wouldn't let him in.
I am a professor here. I have every right to be everywhere on campus. You cannot let people.
That's how you know he's a professor, because he's declaring that he is a professor here. And but that's how my college worked. The teachers were in charge, and the people who pay tuition were paying to sit there and listen to them.
I am a professor here. I have every right to be everywhere on campus. You cannot let people that support Hamas on campus.
Oh, he went there. He brought Hamas. He brought the terrorists that brought the war upon themselves into it. So in response, the president of Columbia University, President Nimat Minouche Shafik, said in a statement posted early Monday, she was deeply saddened on the campus and have riled students and faculty with anti-Jewish slogans and chants. She says, I am deeply saddened by what is happening on our campus. Our bonds as a community have been severely tested in ways that will take a great deal of time. An effort to reaffirm. I'd throw in a dash of self-importance there. Isaac Willour is from Young Voices, an expert on this stuff. And hey, can I ask you, are you a alumnus from an Ivy League university?
No, absolutely not.
Good for
and honestly,
you.
right now, I feel like I probably got the better end of that deal. Yeah, no, it's bad. I mean, this statement from Shafik is pretty wild. It's interesting. She's deeply saddened by the prominence of pro-Hamas elements on Columbia's campus. I need you to be more than deeply saddened, right? Like, I feel like sad is fine, but this university's seriousness and its legitimacy as an institution are being threatened by the most ridiculous kind of activism, to the point where protesters are encamped on the premises and creating an environment that's so intimidating that Jewish students and faculty are not coming to campus anymore because they no longer believe the campus can ensure their safety. I mean, this is a bit more than sad. I feel like we passed sad. Well, in the case of the Israel-Hamas situation, we passed sad quite a while ago. We're quite a few degrees beyond that.
And this cost the Harvard professor was the one who, when asked, is it wrong to kill babies or whatever it was, and she said it depends on the context. That cost her her job.
Our calls for genocide, anti-Semitic, it depends on the context. It does not, in fact, depend on the context. Yeah, I mean, this is the we're watching the devolution of the Ivy Leagues in real time, and I'm going to sit here and pretend that I'm really sad about that, really broken up about it. I don't care. It's fine. If this is how they're going to comport themselves, they deserve to be shuttered and die. Yeah, I think at this point you're looking at institutional futures, right? Because if you're looking at this, you're watching this go down at Columbia. You're watching people get pulled off the quad at Yale for trespassing as part of pro-Hamas protests. Are you even thinking for a minute? Are you thinking for a minute about sending your kid there? And the answer is, for a lot of people, no, especially for Christian conservatives, certainly Jewish.
And also, it was funny because, like, one of the first shots across the bow was a op-ed in the Wall Street Journal where, I forget what the company was, but they said that they are using their sources to account for some of the student leaders that are calling for genocide against the Jews, and do not darken our doorstep with your resume. Basically, they said, if you're one of these people, we don't want your application, your CV, none of that. And that's speaking a language that they understand. Certainly their parents understand.
That seems fair to me. I mean, like, again, I'm 22. Like, it turns out that the path to being a standout member of Generation Z is don't protest in support of a terrorist organization, which I feel like is a fairly low bar to clear. And even then, that bar is still striking some people in the face. But I want to talk about this. So these college age protesters, right? Like, I'm 22. I want to talk about this because I think there's a perception that the vast majority of these people are truly anti-Semitic, and I think there's maybe a point of discussion here, right? I don't think that most college students chanting pro-Hamas slogans have the slightest idea what they're referring to when they chant about the river, the sea, or the Jews, right? That most people who are 23, 22, 21, about this age, they're mad because an Instagram post or a TikTok video told them to be mad about it, that told them that supporting Hamas was synonymous with being a good person, that calling for divestment from Israel is an effective and serious way to virtue signal. They're wrong, right? Nothing can make them right. And some of them actually do mean it. Some of them are legitimately anti-Semitic, and yeah, let's hope they never get hired anywhere. But there's an old saying, right? You never attribute to malice what you can to stupidity. I think we can attribute a lot to stupidity, right? And there's a bit of malice thrown in for good measure, just enough to be concerning. But again, the pretense of this whole discussion is that we're having to have the discussion over, is it malice or stupidity that is calling the shots at an Ivy League university? That is a testament to how far this has fallen.
And then Isaac Willour from Young Voices joins us. And then the other thing is when MSNBC was bleeding, but we're not anti-Semitic, we're just anti-Netanyahu. Okay, well, it's sort of given the lie when you see video of people being targeted because they're wearing a Star of David or a man with a kippah on their head.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Or in the case of a British, a London cop called a man openly Jewish and wouldn't let him counter-protest.
I mean, this whole line of only being anti-Netanyahu. Listen, I have some thoughts about Netanyahu. I have plenty of criticisms of Netanyahu, as do many Israelis, by the way, right? But it's not. When you're marching on the street chanting Hamas make us proud, when you are telling Jewish students that you want to repeat October 7th 10,000 times, these are not anti-Netanyahu lines of questioning. These are anti-Jew lines of questioning. These are anti-human levels of lines of questioning. It's not anti-Netanyahu. You can't pretend that. I think that has become, it's just a convenient excuse.
Yeah, and so if you're protesting in support of Hamas, you're protesting in support of people who have demonstrably kidnapped women for the purpose of raping them, raped corpses, beheaded human infants, laughed about it and their videos from their GoPros, cameras, called their mommies and bragged about how many Jews they killed that day. And that's who you're protesting. That's who you're supporting with Venmo and PayPal. That's who you're skipping class to go support. It's a really bizarre lie.
At some point you have to look at the people you're supporting, and you have to ask, are we the bad guys, right? This is the question. But it's interesting. So this is what progressive activism, I think specifically on the pro-Hamas within the context of the Israel-Palestine debate does, right? I think the pro-Palestine side of this, especially when you mix in the pro-Hamas element, which is not everybody, but is a stunning plurality. Their ask is a fundamentally unworkable one. Right, especially given our current geopolitical climate. And the nice thing about being an activist for a cause that is fundamentally difficult to reconcile with reality is that you're no longer bound by reality. So your demands can be as wild as you please. And you can see this in that when you track it over time, right? So right after October 7th, what's the activist line? What's the slogan? Ceasefire now, right? We want an immediate ceasefire. We're going to pass all kinds of resolutions that do jack. We're going to do all that. It was ceasefire now. That was the term in vogue, right? Now, on Columbia's campus, you have people saying the Israeli state is rooted in genocide and shouldn't exist at all, right? That's an exponential growth in the radicalism of the public statements that are being made, right? And the reason you see that is because pro-Hamas protesters at Columbia, they're at Columbia. They don't experience reality because the Ivy Leagues no longer mirror reality if ever they did. And the nice thing about that is activism no longer has to mirror reality, so the activists choose not to. That's how you get to this level of radicalism. It's the kind of activism that is not only useless, but impossible to reconcile with reality, which if all you want to do is be an activist as some way to virtue signal or prove that you're somehow a superior person, that's the best kind of activism because you never have to be accountable to anybody.
Going over there and joining Hamas, I guess. Because they're heroes now.
Maybe they'll do that and die.
But it is bizarre. I see a parallel with the people that were apologizing for the Soviet Union when Reagan was president when I was in college, who were minimizing the Cold War and minimizing the fact that Reagan was busy winning it, and how we were shouted down as, some sort of Luddite throwback by saying commies in 1989, and it's still a funny word. And hippies is still, for the record, funny. Anyway, I'm glad I'm not writing a check for what it costs for tuition, even in the history department, especially in Columbia. So Isaac Willour from Young Voices, thanks for joining us today.
Dude, thanks for being on the program, man. Take care.